Welcome, everybody. This is Hugh Massie, the chairman and founder of DNA Behaviour International. And today I'm delighted to be hosting another one of our identity conversations. And I have the great pleasure to have with me Justin Breen, who's the founder and CEO of BrEpic Communications. And Justin has been carving himself out quite a niche there in championing the cause of business visionaries, leaders, helping them go to the next level in their business, the next level in their life. He is a connector of people, great family man, and he's also written a couple of books using his brand name Epic. So there's Epic Business and Epic Life. So
right.
Welcome, Justin.
Well, you're an initiator, I'm an initiator, and we both live in abundance, and we're both visionaries. So that this will be like me talking to myself at an evolved level. So I'm kind of excited about that.
Yeah, it's always good when I meet somebody else who's of a similar style to me. But yeah, of course, we've had different life experiences and different skills and aptitudes that make us different. And it's all about, as I said to somebody last week, I think once you know your unique gift and your calling in life, is to get on and live it to the max. That's what I believe we're put on earth to do. And you're definitely out there doing it. And we're getting some great training and insights from Peter Diamandis at Abundance 360. You're a little more into that so far than I am, just from tenure. And Dan Sullivan at Strategic Coach is a great inspiration for you. And I'm not in Strategic Coach, but I have my army of advisors and mentors and coaches around me. EO, I've been in for 23 years. We continue to evolve, but we're going to that place of maximization, I think, Justin. So why don't you just give me a little bit more, or our listeners a little bit more insight into your life background and career background that's got you to this place of being a leading entrepreneur out there and multiplying yourself in lots of ways.
Sure. So my brain, what it does is it turns all this complexity in the world into patterns. So most of my day is talking to the world's top visionaries, ideators, and then I hear blah, 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 and then simplify it into a pattern. That's how my brain works. So I'm just giving you that background because basically every answer I have will have some type of pattern in it. So I know where I come from. That allows me to know where I am and then know where I'm going. But it all starts with knowing where you come from. A lot of folks don't know where they come from, so they don't know where they are, and then they don't know where they're going. So I know that I come from when I was born, my father was 61 and my mom was 27, 34-year difference. My father would be he was born in 1916, February 8th, 1916. So we're coming up on his 107th birthday, 107. He came from nothing, came from absolute nothing, became an attorney in Nuremberg trials, president of an insurance company, and was a World War II hero, shot down multiple times in combat, many times without a parachute, got back into the plane. That's my litmus tester. He's someone who can get back into a plane without a parachute after another one has been shot down, or are you going to make an excuse? So he died when I was 13. That's my litmus test. I mean, so most people make excuses. I don't understand that. So after he died when I was 13, I found a diary of his battle, of him fighting in the Battle of the Hurtgen Forest. Very deadly battle towards the end of World War II. Very deadly battle. Every day in that diary gets more horrific, more horrific, more horrific. And I write exactly like he does. Boom, 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 boom. Result, 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 result. Inform and entertain. So that's my dad. And then when he was in his late 50s, a drunk driver hit him head on. Drunk driver was killed. And my dad broke every bone in his body and survived. And then my mom was his nurse. So that's how they met. 34-year difference. So most of my days talking to people like us, top visionary entrepreneurs on planet. I have not met one of them that has more hustle than my mom ever. She's the ultimate survive and thrive. So here I am. I am combination of that. No excuses, ultimate survive and thrive, brilliant writer, became attorney in Nuremberg trials, war hero, and endless hustle. So those are my parents. And then I just, talk to the people. First chapter in new book, Epic Life, is the cream rises to the top. So every day when my dad was alive, up till I was 13, it would say the cream rises to the top. So partner with the cream that rises to the top, or people that will do what it takes.
Yeah, so you're lucky your dad's provided, and your mum obviously as well, have provided a lot of foundational life principles for you to live by. They've done it as well. I mean, my upbringing is slightly different to yours. In my dad died when I was 1, but my mum then she became an entrepreneur, and probably like your mum, that's where the hustle is, and the the fight to survive and to be the best you can be, and whatever the cards are that are dealt to you. So
figure it out. Yeah. So I don't understand people. I just don't understand excuses. I just don't. I mean, for people like you, I have endless empathy, endless inclusion, endless, because your mom will do whatever, no excuses, figure it out. And then my wife and I, our first date was the day before she started medical school in 2004. So, I mean, she's a pediatrician. So if there's anything that's comparable to being an entrepreneur, it's going through medical school, rotations, residency, no excuses. So people who make excuses, that's most of society. I just don't partner with anyone like that, because they're not the ones that will actually do anything. And then just partner with the ones that change the world, because they're the ones that help everyone else.
yeah, it seems that, in that there's something you've got to do with your own mindset, isn't there? You've got to strip
100%.
away any negative beliefs to start with.
Well, again, brain into patterns. So if you have the right mindset, it attracts the right network and creates right opportunities. So right mindset attracts right network and creates right opportunities. So just work on my mindset every day. I mean, so again, I think people are either born like you or me, or they're not. I think most people would choose this life, but they make excuses. They don't. But if you are born like this, which is rare, you can just work on your mindset every day. So I'll just focus on visionary abundance investment mindset. So there's no nickel or diming. There's no what do you cost or charge. There's no scarcity. There's no business owner stuff, no consultant stuff. It's just pure visionary abundance investment. So it eliminates most of society, but that's okay, because the ones it doesn't eliminate, it's people like you, and you're the ones that actually are changing the world. So that helps everyone else change the world. It's just, I know you're the ones that'll actually do it.
Yeah, and even though you and I as initiators, and we've got very
right.
similar styles, pretty much across the board, Justin.
Yeah,
we still have to a little bit unshackle ourselves of things to go out there and be the full-on entrepreneur. And that hit me at about 30 years old, that I just needed to go and do it. I'd been in the corporate career, and that I just looked up at the guys ahead of me and thought, I love you all, and you've been good to me, but joining you at the top of the pile here in this organization in chartered accounting, or being in a large CPA firm, this isn't for me. I need to be on the street and create something.
Right.
And I had been doing deals on the side,
right. You were an
since I was 20.
Yeah, you're an entrepreneur.
And I suspect you're the same, but you had started off in a corporate. You had some kind of corporate career as an editor, journalist.
Yeah.
So how did you get your start in that, and then how did you progress to then jumping out in 2017 to being the full-on entrepreneur?
Yeah, that's a good question. So again, simplifying the patterns. People like you and me were usually aliens within our own family, community, and vertical. No one understands us except top entrepreneurs on planet. So I just only talk to people like you. Otherwise, it's a pointless conversation because it's one-way conversation. And so, like you, if you want to use the term corporate, I was an intrapreneur and I was an entrepreneur who happened to be a journalist. So, journalists who are journalists had no idea what I was doing in terms of connecting and writing about cool people changing the world. And I had no idea what they were writing about and complaining about with negative news. If it bleeds, it leads, political stuff. I don't understand or care about any of that stuff. So it was always connecting and writing about cool people changing the world. There's been no change in that since starting first company. No change. It's always been fundamental to me. But so again, you're either born like this or you're not. So coming up on the 6-year anniversary, February 10th, 2017, had a 5-minute meeting with company's owner and managing editor. And due to cutbacks, they terminated 2 people that day, but they cut my job salary in half. So I tried to find a job, couldn't find a job. Zero business background, incorporated April 16th, 2017, 6 days after turning 40. With zero business background. So you don't get into journalism for business stuff. So I still don't know what an S Corp is because I think it's funny, but you didn't have to I didn't know you had to pay taxes 4 times a year. I didn't know any of that. So from April 16th, 2017 to June 1st, reached out to 5,000 people to find first 5 clients. While I was working full-time at half the salary, got 5th client June 1st, June 2nd, resigned. And then June 5th, Robert Feeder, who's since retired, but at the time he was top media columnist in the Midwest, did a story. I'd started my own firm. So that was February 10th, 2017 to June 5th, 2017. That was how it started first company.
So in some ways you were the salary cut sort of put it in your face.
Figure it out.
That you needed to do something different.
Plane was shot down. No
Yep.
parachute, get back into the plane. There's no difference.
Yeah, it's actually a very good analogy. But were you, while you were before that happened, but while you were working in the corporate, were you hankering to get out? You just didn't necessarily know how to do it?
So I think that's a fair question. There was no, like, I was doing what I like to do and what I was good at. There's no change in doing what I was doing then to what I'm doing now. I think eventually what happened to me would have happened to me eventually. There's no doubt about that. That's just what happens in journalism. So it just happened when it did in 2017. I'm sure that would have happened. If it hadn't happened then, it would have happened later that year or 2018 or 2019. But no, you don't get into journalism you don't get into that to understand entrepreneur world. Like that's not that. I never took a business class. I didn't even know what an entrepreneur was, but you're either born like this or you're not. I strongly feel that. So, but when it did happen, that 5-minute meeting, February 10th, 2017, that was the worst day of my journalism career and the best day. Worst day and the best day in a 5-minute meeting. And that's not even in the top 100 worst days of being an entrepreneur. So most people they can't handle this life. That's why they don't become entrepreneurs.
Yeah, and you don't really know what it is or what it's like or what it means. It's just an intellectual word to you
yeah, right.
Till you are actually in there as it with
right.
as you say, no parachute. And
right.
You've got to get in an airplane, back in the airplane, and you've got to land, which is making something successul. And
right.
I know, Justin, in my own situation, which is a little different to yours, if I had stayed too much longer, even though I was going to get promoted, I would have got fired or something would have happened that forced me out. And I think it's just the way the energy forces of the world work. You and I are too strong as individuals to work completely under somebody else or in a regime. We're like caged tigers in that environment.
Correct. Yeah.
And so somewhere the tiger's got to be let out and go back into nature and figure it out.
Right.
and that's what's happened to you. And you've clearly, what I can see is you sort of saw it in your parents, but they didn't give you the journalism idea, but you were already in journalism. And was there something about journalism that you loved, because you're still, you're still in that world to some degree? Oh,
no, there's been no change. So I'm still writing about and connecting cool people, changing the world. There's been no change. And, I was born to be this person. I mean, I was born with a story. Like, to have a dad who was a World War II hero, 61 I was born, attorney in Nuremberg trials, Nazi war crime trials, who kept a diary in one of the most horrific battles of World War II, and write exactly like him. And then he met my mom after a drunk driver hit him head on. I mean, and my mom was 20. I mean, so like that's just who I was just born to be this person. And so I've always written it. I don't understand business owner stuff or just regular boring things. I don't understand. And then I just gravitate to people changing the world. So I'll tell you what I mean. So a couple days ago, I was getting a COVID vaccine like 5 months ago. And I met there was a guy sitting there with a World War II veteran's hat. And when someone's wearing that hat, I immediately go up to them. One, because there's not many left, but I mean, I was just born to be a storyteller, right? So I started talking to him, and I'm like, oh, hey, give me your, so he's 95 and he's still practicing law. He defends murder cases. So I'm like, oh, okay. I'm like, I gotta meet this guy. So he gave me his business card. So I finally went over to his office last week, and his name's Thomas Cernick. What a great American this guy is. So he's almost 96. My birthday is April 10th. His is April 13th. So we're both Aries. So I just sat with him for 2 hours and for the most part listened to him. And then my brain simplified it into patterns. So let me just give you a couple things, because this is how my brain naturally works, whether it's, visionary, changing the world, which Thomas is, by the way, or just listening to a war hero. So he was married for 64 years. His wife recently died. All of his siblings have died. All of his friends have died. His last living friend died a month ago. He was raised in this very small town of Michigan, up in the farthest point of the Upper Peninsula. So like literally in the wild. Only one of his 9 siblings to get past a 4th grade education. Only one. And fought in the Pacific for the Navy. He was one of those guys they sent in. They sent him in before the other troops to like clear a runway, you talk about the most dangerous thing you could do in the Navy is clear a beach or a runway before anyone else gets there. I can't think of anything more dangerous than that. Okay. And then he's still defending murder trials. He's still working. He's probably the longest serving attorney in the state of Illinois. He's 95. I looked it up while I was talking to him. There is a 100-year-old that I connected with him he's in Georgia, actually, where you are. The 100-year-old is, who's still practicing law. So I connected them, or I sent him the article about it. Okay. So then I'm asking Thomas, I go, okay, thank you for telling me your life story. Give me the keys here. You've lost your wife, all your friends. You're still working. He works with his son. His son's also an attorney. Okay. So this is what he told me. This is what life is to him. And then I'm going back in April to talk to him again, because I like talking to him. All right. So 1, serendipitous meetings of the right people at the right times, which, by the way, I've realized that's what I actually do. I create serendipitous meetings of the right people.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm like, oh, thanks. Thanks for that. 2, be early, be brave, be honest. Okay, good. Be early, be brave. Yeah. Very good. 3, always stay in the battle. That's what he tells his grandkids. Always stay in the battle. So all this other stuff, this business owner stuff, it's fine. I just don't care about any of it. I care about serendipitous meetings, the right people, the right times. Be early, be brave, be honest. Always stay in the battle. That's it.
Yeah, well, I think that those are, Justin, three great principles, and I would certainly relate the first one
Yeah.
to my principle of quantum living. And,
Right.
you know, if you know who you are, you've built the right relationships, you've got financial flexibility, what
Yes.
we've been talking about at DNA of having the right money energy,
Yes.
you can live in the quantum world, because it will probably be a person and the right situation where you make a leap. And are you prepared to go and do that? You and I are risk takers.
99 out of 100.
Yep, we will.
Surprised we weren't 100. Why are we not 100 out of 100? I was surprised about that.
Well, we can work towards that.
But can you get 100 out of 100?
Realistically, you can. You can.
Okay. I was surprised that we were both. And then, by the way, Peter Diamandis, on a podcast, he said money is energy. So what you just said, that's what money is. It's energy.
It is energy. It's a currency, but it's energy, because it's
energy. Right.
It's what you think it is. So taking all of that, Justin, you completed the DNA discovery.
Yes.
And you're very similar to me. We're both initiators.
Right.
And I know, you know, because you're into patterns, and you've been using the Colby work a fair bit, which is good as well.
Right.
But just, you know, what was your feeling or thoughts when you completed the DNA discovery, got it back? You know, what did you think about it and how it sort of relates to some of this?
Yes. Okay. So one, we're both 99 risk behaviors. I would say I wouldn't say 100%, but 95+% of the people I talk to have to be at least 95 on the risk behavior. They wouldn't be top entrepreneur on planet without, they just wouldn't be. So like most people, they look at risk as a negative thing. I think people like you and I, or you and me, we look at it as a great thing. Like it's an essential ingredient. Here's the other thing that I found really funny. Did you see my results? Did you see them?
Oh yeah, I saw.
Okay.
Don't worry about that.
Okay.
We wouldn't be doing this if I hadn't seen them.
Right. You're a 7.662, Colby. I'm an 8.6. Okay. So the thing that I knew was going to be true, but it was funny to see the number, is that out of 100, I'm a 2 on financial relationship management. Like, just leave me. I don't care. It said higher scores indicate the more time and energy you wish to spend working with your financial advisor. I was surprised I wasn't a 0 on that. Just leave me alone. Let me focus on the purpose of my life. Now I care about making money and building wealth, but the actual talking to that person, leave me alone. What were you on that? What are you on? You got
Mine's same as yours, 1%.
So 1, you're 1%. A 1. Damn it. I wanted to be a 1. You're a 1. So you're me more evolved, right? Okay. My goal is to be a 1 or a 0 in that. Just keep me. That's hilarious that you talk about financial behavior and you're a 1 in financial relationship management.
Well, and it's, yes, it is.
It's hilarious.
Well, it's absolutely interesting because that I am, doing that, because a lot of the work is to promote the financial planning relationship.
Right, but you don't care. That's great. And here's the other thing too. And then daring versus careful, I was a 99. I thought I'd be 100 for that too. And results versus relationship. What are you results versus relationships?
So I'm 99% on results.
On results, and I'm 97. But here's the other interesting thing is all the results for me are based on relationships.
Yes.
But it's selective relationships. So,
well, I think that and I'm going to bring up an interesting point for you in a minute with this, is that it's not that, you don't value relationships, right? Relationships are key. That's part of the serendipitous.
Everything. It's everything.
Right. And I teach leaders this, that even though you're might be very results orientated like you and I are, if you don't learn to build relationships, you're not going to be leading for very long. So you've got to learn how to adapt.
Correct.
And so that's the key thing. And you're doing it every day by touching a lot of people, because I've been watching, you do it, hosting podcasts, connecting people for your network. So you must do it. But it's probably the style that you go about it. And, so that's really all it is. It doesn't mean you don't value relationships and you can't build them. Like you have. I've got a big network, but some people would see me as maybe harder to connect to.
That's most humans.
Yeah, not as warm, but they know if they want an idea or to be helped with something, I'm going to do it because I always do. But the interesting thing is it comes with that package of numbers that you have or scores. The strongest one in your profile is what is the results-driven style.
Correct.
And when we did research, Justin, and this is going to come back to your father and, the parachute concept of, you leaped out without the parachute.
Yeah.
Is resilience is the number one, what we measured over 500 entrepreneurs who build a business from 1 million. And when it goes past 10 million, it gets stronger.
The resilience gets stronger.
The number one thing is resilience. And so that is actually your number one trait.
That
ahead of the risk taking.
Where is that?
Two.
But where is that in the thing?
So the fast-paced person, the results score is actually also a reflection of resilience.
Right. Yeah.
So we also have an entrepreneur report in the system. I could send it to you.
Oh, sure.
And that probably should have done that, but that brings out that resilience is important. That's the key.
That's
to
number one. Can I simplify that into a pattern?
Yep.
Okay. Right. So all I do is talk to visionaries. I don't talk to business owners, not humans, not only visionaries. Okay. So this is what separates visionaries from humans or everyone else. Okay. So I haven't met one person like us, not one, that has not overcome at least one of the following four things. Most are two or three. The most successful ones are usually threes and then mostly all fours. Okay. So this is what separates entrepreneurs, resilience from, humans. So the four things: bankruptcy or potential bankruptcy; 2, depression; 3, the highest level of anxiety you can imagine; 4, likely and or possible traumatic experiences as a child or young adult. So humans, business owners, consultants, those four things are excuses. Top entrepreneur on planet, figure it out. Resilience. So entrepreneurs, visionaries, okay, not business owners, not humans, not consultants, visionaries. For the most part, most damaged people, best coping skills, most damage, most trauma, most depression, most anxiety, most potential bankruptcy, but the highest amount level of resistance, the highest courage, the highest IQ, the highest EQ. So that's what entrepreneurs are. Yeah. That's why you're either born like that or you're not. Most people they don't have the IQ or the EQ or they don't have that.
They don't have the EQ. They don't have this kind of resilience EQ, I think.
Correct. That's what it is.
Yeah, the resilience quotient. That's perhaps what we should call it.
Go for it. That's a good. So I'm 32 out of 34 in ideation on Strength Finders. But if I hear a great idea, like that's a great idea, that would be, because that's all it is. That's the score that matters. Are you a visionary who does not make excuses and will go back into a plane without a parachute after another one has been shot down? Or are you someone who's going to, so if you make an excuse, I can't say anything to you because you're limiting yourself with your own mindset. Period.
Yeah. It's
what's your IQ, by the way? Have you ever done it?
No.
Oh, you got to be at least, so 140 and above is genius. That's 1% of the population. You're at least that, probably 150. And I'm 139. So I'm like literally a bridge between genius and human. But you're definitely over. There's no way you'd be doing what you're doing if you weren't at least 140. You just
I'm flattered that you say that.
It's not a compliment. It's what I don't thank you, but that's not, I just look at things as how it is. I mean, you're definitely over 140. You have to be.
Yeah, it's interesting because at high school, I was not academic at that kind of level.
Half of my partners can barely read. Doesn't mean anything.
It's because of the way my brain actually processes information that I wasn't probably suited to school, but I finished out at school well, even better at university. Put me with things that I'm in areas that I'm good at. Whether it was tax law or
fun.
Yeah, or the behavioral sciences, and it's probably it's probably true. So
Right.
it's interesting that you make that point. So, and I'll share with you another idea, another thing, another day around people with the style that you and I have. Which is why I started a charity last year called Boys Without Fathers.
Right. Yeah. Mentor. Yeah.
Yeah, kids without a dad end up with styles like we have, and without the guidance later on,
That's
they can be
interesting.
a trainer.
Wait. Kids without fathers end up with a style like we do? Really?
A lot do if the father's left the home under 1 year old.
Oh, because does that create a coping mechanism?
Yep.
Wow, that makes sense.
Yep, it's all there, and you're left to your own devices. You've got to go out and deal with the world.
Figure it out.
Yeah. So it's interesting, but a lot of guidance and mentoring is needed.
So that's an interesting thing. So, okay, one, thank you for telling me that. Two, again, just simplifying to parents. And all I do is, and when I was a journalist, so talk to top athlete, top entrepreneur, top musician, top actor, whatever that is. So I've only found two commonalities, only two with them. One is that they have the mindset, no excuses. That's one. Two, and if you know an exception to this, I would like to meet them. I haven't yet, but please tell if you know someone about like this, I want to meet them. That they had at least one person, doesn't need to be a parent or a relative or anything. They had one person that actually cared about them or believed them. So it could have been a mentor, a coach, I don't know, guidance counselor, a teacher. They had at least one. I haven't met an exception to that where they didn't have one person that genuinely cared about them. So those are the only two commonalities that I've seen in the top people on planet: mindset and one person that cared about them, at least one.
Yeah, I think you've got to have one person at least. So yeah, that's interesting. That that's very interesting. I'll think about that more. I would agree with that.
Yeah, if you know an exception, I want to meet. So like then like there's only two 10Xs that I care about, only two, because like you're very logical. I look at things in like a scientific, logical way. So like most folks, they look at 10X as revenue, like business people, and this is fine, but like 10X revenue, office space, employee count. I don't understand any of that. So 10X, I want a 10X experiences in life with my family. If you have a good family life, you have a good life. I have not met one person ever that has had a good family life, regardless of whether a visionary or not, that has not had a good life. If you know someone that has a good family life that has not had a good life, I would like to meet that person. I have not yet, but if you know someone, I would like to meet them. And then two, network on a global level. When you 10X your network on global level, you create endless opportunities for your network and yourself. So that's it. Those are the only, and then I ask myself two questions, only two every day. One, did I have a good experience that day with my family? Every day the answer to that is yes. And then two is, did network grow on a global level? And every day answer to that is yes. I found all this other stuff takes care of itself with those two questions answered.
Yeah, isn't that interesting? Because firstly, I think the first one's foundational, just to the stability and the fun in your life. There's no point doing all of this if there's no enjoyment, and your family has got to be at the epicenter of it.
Right.
And if the family relationships are bad, it's just a drag on you, energetically. But the networking on the global, levels is an interesting. I think it's an interesting one, and that's definitely going to 10X or 100X you.
It never stops, because once you find people, people like you are very hard to find initially, because people like us are usually aliens within our own family, community, and vertical. So I was talking like this for most of my life. And with the exception of talking to the people I was interviewing as a journalist, no one understood what I was talking about. So it's a pretty lonely world, but I just kept talking like this. And then I found that the only people that understood what I was talking about were top entrepreneurs on planet, and in rooms like Abundance 360 and Strategic Coach. So now I just only talk to people like that, because one, that's the only place where people understand what I'm talking about. But more importantly, and this relates directly to you, you're the only type of people I can actually learn something, because you're more evolved and you've done this longer. You understand it. So I like to be the dumbest person in the room, because I like to learn something. And people like you are the only ones I can really learn something from.
But also, I think interestingly, it's not just building a network; it's building a global network.
Why wouldn't you think like that? I mean, but that's
Yeah.
so this is what I mean. What you said, that's how I learn in real time, because 32 out of 34 in ideation, very low in that, but people like you provide all the great ideas. So I was always thinking globally my whole life. And then people are like, well, why aren't you just focused on, we live in Chicago. Why aren't you focused in Chicago or the suburbs? I go, because no one here understands what I'm talking about. So
Yeah.
I had to find people who understood what I was talking about, and just found out that people like you are the ones who understand. And it's only in the top entrepreneur groups on planet, not business owner groups, not networking groups. It's only people like you.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think that's partly why I'm in America and not in Sydney.
Well, so here's another. Okay. Thank you for saying that. So here is again, here is an answer to what you just said, which is very profound. So everyone I talk to is American. It does not matter where they live or where they're from. They are American. So America, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. You're an American. You live in America, but when you were in Australia, you were an American. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So I talk to a lot of Canadians, but they're American. And so Canada, so America's slogan is life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Okay. So that's everyone I talk to, regardless of where they live. Canada's is peace, order, and good government. So most Americans, most humans are Canadian. Regardless, peace, order, good government. Those are so most Americans are Canadian. Most Australians are Canadian. What's Australia's? What's the slogan for Australia?
The good country.
Perfect. Great. Most Americans are Australian. Most Canadians are Australian or Canadian, and they're not American.
Australia and Canada are very similar.
Well, right. You just said the same. The good country is Australia's slogan. They can do better.
It's one of them. But a lot of Australia is about talking about the good life that's there. And I think that
don't go small, go Australia. That's the tourism one.
Yeah. Well, it's probably changed, but
okay, I'm looking this up. Tourism Australia's new campaign is causing confusion. That's funny. That's just an old
but they've had very a lot of the tourism marketing of Australia, and I think just really the culture has been about the quality life experience that you get by being in Australia, and that would be true. I think America is a lot more about extending yourself.
Right. It's life,
come and put
liberty,
your talents down and see where you can go, and there's no limit.
Australia has no official motto, which that makes no sense to me. But okay. So Algeria's is by the people and for the people. That's interesting. So but I haven't talked to any Americans in Algeria. I talked to a lot of Americans who happen to live in South Africa or Nigeria, that they're just American. Here, Brunei, always in service with God's guidance. Boy, that's a tough family, or that's a tough country. Nation, religion, king. That's Cambodia. See, this is what I mean. So all these people, they're not, but there's a few Americans in every country. There's a few of them. Yeah,
it's interesting, and there's a lot of Australians that have come to America and thrived, and
right.
Really enjoy it. But it's interesting when you talk about building the global network. One of the things that I do, with our team, every time we have a team meeting, sales meeting, we have a map of the globe. We have countries that we are building our presence in.
Right.
That's the discussion. With our marketing lead generation, where's everybody come from? That's we're working on that, manifesting it basically by having it there in pictures.
Right, because the right mindset attracts the right network and creates opportunities. You just put your mindset into pictures. Makes sense.
Right, because that's the way to bring it all to life.
Right.
So
makes sense.
If Justin, if we bring all this together and sort of just close up on your identity. So how do you see yourself being remembered to the world?
Oh, Yeah, I created serendipitous meetings of the right people at the right time. So I'd like to thank Thomas for that. I mean, but
Yeah.
you know, the other thing is I'm a dad who happens to be an entrepreneur. I mean, the second book is how to build collaborative global companies while putting your loved ones first. I talk to 1 to 2 people like us every single day, or not every
Yeah.
day, every week, that have let entrepreneur life destroy their family life or prevented them from anything meaningful. So that's a bad idea. So I would never, ever let this life destroy my family life ever. In fact, it's made it greater than I ever could have possibly imagined, but that's because I put family meaningful things first.
I believe if you know how to manage being an entrepreneur properly, you can make family life be central and work.
Correct.
In fact, you've more risk of it not happening when you're not in control of your own life working in a corporate, to be honest. Because I think the one thing about the entrepreneurship is it gives you the chance
Endless freedom
to do it, even though you're thinking business 24/7, and you might be playing with the kids and there's something rattling around in your head, and you can always dictate yourself a note, but you've got freedom to be where you need to be.
right.
You don't in any other environment.
No.
And that's the I think that's the great thing about the entrepreneurship. But I think as I've interacted with you today, which has been very interesting, and I think you and I could go on for hours, but being the creator of serendipitous meetings,
yeah,
that I think is very powerful, Justin, and to me is how you should be remembered, because I think with your visionary talents,
yeah,
and you've got a high results drive, which means you want to connect to a lot of people.
integrating visionary, which is very rare.
Yeah, you can make that happen, and you are making it happen.
Yeah, I do it. Yeah, talk's meaningless to me without. But again, it's only because of talking to people like you and Thomas Cernek, and then listening, and then distilling it, and then answer. So I knew talking to him, and I knew talking to you, that greatness would come out of it, because you're the ones that change it. What I'm endlessly grateful for Thomas is, most people look at 95-year-old and they think age, where I look at 95-year-old and I see that as wisdom. And again, I was raised by someone who would be 107 in a couple days. And I got that after he had survived all of this other stuff.
Yeah.
All this other stuff. And then I had about 8 good years, age 5 to 13, where I got all of that greatness in every day, all of that. Someone who just thankful to be alive and had survived all that. And I saw so much of that in Thomas, and was so grateful just to because he's lost everything. He has his children and grandchildren, great job, but his wife died, all of his friends, he's the last, all of his siblings. But he is never going to stop staying in the battle. Never. Yeah. And that is so important, and so grateful for that, because it's the ultimate. It's the ultimate. And then number 1 book is Man's Search for Meaning. That's number 1. Viktor Frankl. That's number 1.
And I agree with that. That was a very life-changing book for me when I read it 16, 17 years ago. And it's one I would always recommend to people. And obviously people need to read Epic Life that you've written, and Epic Business.
Yeah. Thank you.
Well, because I think you are bringing together transformational thinkers and visionaries at the top end, and the stories you've created in those books are from those people, and I think that's what the listeners need to to hear or to read.
Well, so I'm grateful for that. Thank you.
So, Justin, just to wrap up, is there anything else in closing that you would like to say, and then we'll wrap up?
Yeah, you're a 7 follow through, and I'm a 6, so this might never end. This conversation might be one more follow through thing to say, one more follow through thing to say. Most of the people I talk to, they're 3-3-9-3, so they have no follow through, which is kind of funny. But you and I are both exceptions to that. But so again, simplify into patterns. I keep making bigger investments into smaller rooms, but the people in those rooms are making bigger impacts. So bigger investments, smaller and bigger impact. That allows me to spend biggest investment in smallest room, which is my family, where I can make the most impact. So it's the same formula: bigger investment, smaller room, bigger impact. Biggest investment is smallest room, my family, where I can make the most impact.
Amazing. Well, thank you, Justin. This has been quite inspirational to me. You and I are definitely on the same planet. I'm so glad we've started to get to know each other, and there's a lot more to come.
Because of both of our follow-throughs, I'm going to stop talking now, other than saying thank you.